This is the all-new WICR. We're now on Live 365 and Ustream.com. Just search WICR and like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/WICR Iona College Radio.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is Bill and Bob. I am Robert Bob Baez, and as you can see, my partner Bill is not here yet. He will be running a little bit late. If he will not get here, then I will just end the show in this segment. So let's get right into it. So today is March 31st, the end of the month, obviously, and this marks the end, or nearing the end, of March Madness, the NCAA tournament. Now, the first round had its fair share of upsets, and then after that, however, it seemed to become a little more predictable as the tournament's gone on, with, of course, the one exception being the number 7 seeded Michigan State. Yes, Michigan State is in the Final Four along with 3 predictable number 1 seeds being in it. If there was one number 1 seed that we all expected not to make it to the Final Four, it would have been Villanova, and that's pretty much what happened. So, now, of course, I'm going to give some predictions and, just things in general, talk about the Final Four. Now, first thing that I noticed about this Final Four, it features extremely talented coaches. I don't think there's ever been a March Madness matchup, a Final Four matchup, or really a whole bunch of teams in the Final Four with head coaches this good. You have Tom Izzo, the coach of Michigan State. He's won a national championship. He took his team to a whole bunch of Final Fours. You have Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. And then, of course, you have John Calipari at Kentucky. And Bo Ryan. Bo Ryan's not as talked about as Krzyzewski and Calipari. However, he's definitely one of the premier college basketball coaches, no doubt about it. And then, of course, there's the matchups that we might possibly have in the final. The matchups in the Final Four are Wisconsin versus Kentucky and Duke against Michigan State. Now, Michigan State had a good run, but I don't really expect for Michigan State to win this one. Duke's pretty much run through everyone, with relative ease in this tournament. Kentucky, pretty much the same thing, with their exception being that lone game against Notre Dame to actually get to the Final Four. And Wisconsin has been pretty much doing the same thing as well. Michigan State had to claw and scratch their way to actually get here. And possible matchups, we could see either a matchup between 2 Big Ten teams or 2 of the college basketball blue blood programs. If you don't know what blue blood is, of course, Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, 4 great college basketball programs, all wear blue. But all I'm saying is, interestingly enough, if Kentucky and Duke do meet in the final, then what it really will be, it doesn't really. You could either be on one side of the spectrum. You can't be in the middle. Either if you see Kentucky versus Duke, you either are extremely excited that you get to see, like I mentioned before, 2 of the blue blood programs. A heavyweight. Jahlil Okafor versus Willie Cauley-Stein and Karl Anthony Towns and so forth. Mike Krzyzewski, John Calipari. It's a great matchup. Or you are absolutely disgusted by the matchup, of course, because Kentucky and Duke, they have their fair share of dedicated fans, along with their fair share of haters. So that will be an interesting matchup. Or we could have 2 Big Ten teams, Michigan State and Wisconsin. If anything, who would have expected that Michigan State could be the Big Ten team that Wisconsin might be able to play for the final? But I don't really, see it happening. When it comes to the players for these teams, Wisconsin, they have could be Naismith Player of the Year award winner, Frank Kaminsky, and Decker's also done really well in his game against, in the last game that they played, he had hit against Arizona. He hit a really clutch shot that pretty much got them to victory. Jahlil Okafor for Duke has been, sensational. Maybe not in this tournament. This tournament he struggled a little bit, but throughout the season he's been the reason why Duke has actually been able to make this run. To be able to get to the tournament, become a 1 seed, and get the record that they had, as well as to actually be able to, make it to the Final Four. For Kentucky, obviously we all know the players of Kentucky: Karl Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein, the big guys up front, the Harrison twins at the guard. The thing about Kentucky is that, sure, those guys may stick out, but this is really a full team effort. That's how Calipari's teams usually are. Especially just all of them are freshmen. And they're probably going to be gone next year. In fact, they will be gone next year. They're freshmen. It's this is Calipari, the way he does things. And they're obviously chasing history, trying to become the first undefeated team since Indiana in 1976, if I recall, to actually have an undefeated season and win the championship. And they already have the greatest record ever in college basketball history, 40-0, and they're looking to, better that. If they do win the championship, they will go down as the greatest college team ever. There's no doubt about it. And then, of course, you got to talk about Michigan State. I mean, you don't have to, but Michigan State's in the Final Four. I named 3 of the teams. Michigan State, they don't have any big-name guys on their team, but it's really been a team effort. They've basically been winning from a lot of heart. The game against Louisville, that took heart because, nobody expected them to make it anywhere close. So, glad Michigan State is here, but their run might be ending. So, there's that. So, predictions. Like I said earlier, Michigan State, sorry. But your run's going to end here. We're going to see Duke in the final again, for all you Duke haters out there, again, And then Kentucky and Wisconsin. Wisconsin might be the one team that could beat Kentucky. Their offensive output is sensational. They're extremely efficient on offense. That's how Bo Ryan teams are. Only issue about Wisconsin is on defense. They're not exactly the strongest, and that's Kentucky's. That's the main thing about them. So Kentucky, it's going to be a really good game. If Notre Dame gave Kentucky a good challenge, then expect Wisconsin to give them an even better one. Wisconsin, they have rainmakers out there. Able to just knock down a 3 anywhere. Frank Kaminsky, he's a beast. He's able to pretty much score whatever he wants. When he turns it on, it's really hard to stop. So I'm picking. However, John Calipari always finds a way to win. His teams always find a way to win, and I feel like that's going to happen on Saturday night, and Kentucky will win. So then that is the dreaded Duke-Kentucky matchup. We could talk all about, the final in 1992 between Duke and Kentucky. Christian Laettner hit that game-winning shot. That right there is a play that's played all the time. It's one of the most iconic plays in not only college basketball history, but the history of sports in general. And that will be definitely talked about. Of course, I don't think Okafor is going to, do something like that. But who knows? It's college basketball. It's unpredictable. And then you have, Kentucky, the powerhouse, and Kentucky, like I said, both of these teams, for one thing, they've pretty much run through all the competition that they played. Obviously, with Kentucky, narrowly beating Notre Dame. But, this seems like a very, very interesting matchup. It's kind of like a matchup in baseball between the Yankees and Dodgers. It's a matchup that either everybody wants to see or nobody wants to see. And that's what we might be having, as the final in Indianapolis. So if I can make my prediction, Kentucky is going to win this game. Kentucky will take this game. Duke, the only thing is Kentucky might not be able to score. The matchup between Jahlil Okafor and Willie Cauley-Stein, that could be a really, really interesting one. The way college basketball is, I will not be surprised if it gets a little chippy. These are 2 of the best college basketball programs in the country. But the way this Kentucky team's been playing, the way John Calipari is, Mike Krzyzewski's had his time. And he's probably going to be coaching for a lot longer, but this is John Calipari's time now. He's the coaching king of college basketball at this point. And so don't be surprised if they take this game. Now, it's not going to be a blowout like, the way Kentucky usually wins their games. But do not be surprised if Kentucky wins the championship and they become the greatest college basketball program ever. So with that being said, I will be taking a quick break, and we will be, or for now, I will be right back.